Welcome to the A New Body Insight podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogrammed Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. And Chantal Donnelly, physical therapist and author of Settled, How to Find Calm in a Stress-Inducing World. We follow our guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Hello and welcome to the A New Body Insight podcast. I am Dr. Supatra Tovar.
And I am Chantal Donnelly.
We are very, very excited and thrilled to have certified Pilates instructor, former professional dancer, and former licensed massage therapist, Kira Lamb, with us today. Kira, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to read a little bit about Kira, and then we're going to get right into our questions to learn a little bit more about her. Kira Lamb is a certified Pilates instructor, former professional dancer, and former licensed massage therapist who has spent over 20 years dedicated to the performing arts. Her experience as a dancer and aerial artist, combined with her journey through injury recovery, deeply informs her Pilates practice today. Kira specializes in helping people maintain strength, flexibility, and resilience as they age. She believes that how we move our bodies reflects how we move through life. And she tailors her Pilates and massage programs, former massage programs, to empower clients to live with confidence and vitality at every stage of life. Kira, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Kira, it's so great to see you. I've been following you on Facebook, so I kind of feel like I've been keeping up with your life, which has been super exciting. I know you're now in New York. I know you lived, was it beach resort?
For 2.5 years, I lived in Turks and Caicos. I was a resident Pilates teacher and a massage specialist there.
Wow. Yeah, I was always so jealous seeing your Facebook posts back then. And now you're back in New York. Yeah. So I have so many questions for you. I mean, I think I really am interested in, you've done a lot of different movements. Mm-hmm. You were a professional dancer, you're a Pilates instructor, you were doing some aerial type entertainment. And now I see you on Facebook, you're doing aerial hoop moves. What was it that sparked you to really focus on a career in movement and performing arts?
Well, when I was a kid, my parents put me in everything. So I did everything from gymnastics to ice skating, piano, violin, and ballet. And ballet is what stuck with me the most. I think I stuck with it because for some reason as a kid, I liked the discipline of it. I love the structure. I studied through the Royal Academy of Dancing, RAD training. So it was leveled system. And we'd have adjudicators come from England every single year to kind of assess our progress and grade us. So I just love that because I feel like the discipline taught me that I was capable of doing some really cool stuff if I put my mind to it. I think that's what it was. It was very satisfying and confidence building. And then there was the artistic element for me too that was really appealing because it was an opportunity to express myself in a unique way. So it was the combination of both that structure, the discipline, and also the creative self-expression. And when I first went to New York City when I was 13 years old, I trained at Dance Theater Harlem. And when I was there, I was like, I want to move to New York City when I grow up and be a professional dancer. And my parents were not supportive of it, but I did it anyway. But I waited until I was 23. I kind of just escaped my hometown and I moved to New York City because I went to an audition one summer just on the fly and ended up booking the job. And so I was like, okay, so maybe there is something to it. And then I just stayed in New York ever since.
Wow, that is, I think a lot of little kids' dreams that don't necessarily always come to fruition. Mm-hmm. And you had to go against the wishes of your parents and move out there. That must have been really hard.
That was super hard right here. I was raised in a religion that was really strict. So I wasn't really encouraged to pursue my dreams. I was encouraged to pursue more like spiritual goals, which I did for a while, but it didn't feel authentic to me. I was able to go to New York City in the summers and train and dance. And so that's when I would like get my fill. And so it was like that one random summer where I was like, I just want to see what an audition would be like. I just want to test it out. And then I can come back and share that with my students. I had no idea I would book the job. And that was like my window of opportunity because it paid my bills, basically. So it allowed me to leave my hometown and start my life in New York City. I had no plans after that gig ended. I didn't know what was going to happen after that, but I just went for it because inside, that's what I knew I had to do. My spirit was leading me in that direction.
You also, I mean, give us a picture of who you danced with and for and alongside, because there's some pretty big names there.
Well, I will age myself a bit. So I started my professional dance career in 93. That first gig that I booked was a tour with Freedom Williams of CNC Music Factory. So if you remember, like, everybody dance now. So I went on that tour with him. Yes, that's the song. And then after that, I came back and I started dancing for the New York Knicks. And then I went on tour with Marky Mark, remember him? And Lisette Melendez. Oh, yeah. And then later on, I started dancing with bigger artists. Well, now I don't even want to say his name, but like Puffy. I was on his tour. I toured with Missy Elliott, Gloria Estefan. I did a lot of music videos in the 90s. Yeah, it was fun. And then I got into theater. So I got into off-Broadway theater. And that's when I was introduced to aerial arts in 1998. I booked De la Guarda Visha Visha, which was like an immersive show in a black box theater in Union Square. And that's when I started aerial harness. And that was just my favorite job in my whole life. It was awesome.
I love it. So, you know, you have this really long and extensive background in dance. When did Pilates come into the picture, and how did dance inform Pilates? I always say I wish I had Pilates first before dance, because it really, I think, would have strengthened me in all the right ways before dance. But how did you transition?
Well, you know, the crazy thing is, I was actually introduced to Pilates when I was 13 years old at Dance Theater of Harlem. I had never heard of it before, but when I studied there, before my ballet class with Carl Shook, we would have to take Pilates mat. Never seen it before. I was such a bunhead. I was like, we're lying down on the floor. We're rolling over on it. Like it felt crazy to me. But now I understand the value of it for dancers. So I was first introduced to it then, and then I didn't do anything with it. And then when I became a professional dancer, I had knee surgery. I tore my meniscus. And so after surgery, I went to Performing Arts Physical Therapy, which was owned by Sean Gallagher, who owned Performing Arts Physical Therapy and the New York Pilates studio. So once I graduated from my PT sessions, they then sent me across the hall to start doing Pilates, classical Pilates. And like, as I was doing it, first of all, I was just intrigued by the movement itself, but it also made me so strong that I wasn't getting injured anymore. I wasn't getting the overuse injuries, I should say. I still got injured, but I wasn't getting overuse injuries. Every time I would stop my practice, that's when I would start getting injured again. I was like, there is something to this. And that's when I knew that one day I wanted to become certified. And so I did all the prerequisites to go through the teacher training program there with Romana. So I had to do like 75 private lessons there. But it was at that point that I ended up booking De La Guarda. And I was like, okay, that can wait. And I started my show. And then when I was in the show is when I started my massage school. And then I knew I was going to get certified in Pilates afterwards, or that was the goal.
And where did you get certified?
That's an interesting thought. So I was in De La Guarda and fell in love, got married, moved to LA. And at the time, I thought all Pilates was exactly the same. I didn't know there were different styles or anything. So I moved to LA and I found a studio with my best friend, and we got trained through Physical Mind Institute. And my teacher was Maria Leone. And it was it was an awesome program. And then after that, that's when I went and I started working with you all. So I trained with Maria, and then I started working at Tracy's studio, and I started working at other boutique studios in the Valley. And the more I was working, I was like, I like what I'm doing, but this is not what I did in New York. Like, it feels different. And I don't know why. And so I started investigating, and that's when I found out that what I had studied in New York was something different called classical Pilates. And so then I started looking for classical Pilates in LA, and that's when I got certified through Power Pilates next. And so then I studied with Bob Leakin, Susan Moran, Sherry Berkowitz, and Carrie Macy, who's now Carrie Macy Samper. And so then I worked for Power Pilates and Equinox for the whole time I was in LA, basically. That was and then I got certified later on. I ended up getting certified through the New York Pilates studio, where I was originally going to get certified way back in 1998. I did that training when I returned from Turks and Caicos. So that was the last certification I did. I've been all over the place, basically.
Yeah, you have. You have. I think for people who don't know Pilates, they might be a little surprised that there are these two different kinds of Pilates.
Or now there's even
more. Way back, I think it was in the 90s. I think there was that whole lawsuit with Sean Gallagher where he was trying to get Pilates to be a copyright.
No, there was a trademark that already existed. Right. No, he bought the business, and the business had the trademark. So he was enforcing the trademark that already existed. But the court deemed Pilates as being just like a generic term, just like aerobics or just like anything else. So that's what happened. So that's when Pilates started to proliferate a little bit more, even though it already existed. There was people who were trained by other like disciples of Joseph Pilates, and they were teaching it around the country. It was because Pilates was associated with Joe's business. The trademark was with Joe's business. That's what happened.
Right. And I remember for a long time in the 90s, you had to say Pilates based if you were not doing the classical Pilates.
Yeah, that I was interesting. But the cool thing is, like, when I worked at Tracy's studio and at the other boutique studios, is I was exposed to people who studied with like Ron Fletcher, or people who went through the Bazzi system, or people who did Long Beach dance conditioning. So it was like I was surrounded by like all these other great minds. So I feel like I learned a lot from being in those environments that I was in. And I still take some of the stuff, obviously, that I got from even my first certification, even though it's considered contemporary. But like I still got valuable tools from that program and all the other teachers that I was, surrounded with that entire time.
I think combining all the different kinds of Pilates and the different thinkers is definitely the way to go.
Or just understanding the why. Like, why are people making this choice? Like, I know what the foundation is. I know what the root is. So why are you going in this direction? I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I get it. It helps someone understand that exercise better.
So, Carrie, you have often talked about the concept of aging powerfully. Mm-hmm. Can you tell our listeners what you mean by that and how you help people do that?
Well, first I'll say I've been inspired by my own clients. I have quite a few clients who are in their 70s and 80s, and I feel like they're more active than I am. Like, they have like a better social life than me. Like, they're always out and about. They're traveling constantly. They're entertaining their grandkids. They're going out late night for like, events. Like, they're just always active. And the reason why they're drawn to Pilates is because it helps them stay mobile, and it helps them stay independent, and they can keep up with the grandkids. And so to me, I prefer the idea of aging powerfully like they are versus aging gracefully or just kind of letting age take over. It's like, you don't have to stop moving. You don't necessarily have to slow down if you just keep moving your body and keep training it to work as efficiently as you possibly can. So I feel like that was inspired by my own students.
Well, give us a picture of how that might work. How does Pilates help somebody age powerfully? What are they actually strengthening? And I think for people who don't know or are new to Pilates, this would be really helpful. And if you could explain too, I think just going back to the last question, difference between, say, East Coast and West Coast Pilates, and what are the benefits of both? And how do they apply to aging powerfully?
Oh my goodness. First of all, it makes you intrinsically strong. So it's like you're training your body from the inside out. So you are learning how to move always from a strong and stable center. So for, say, older people, it helps you stand taller instead of surrendering to the weight of gravity. It helps you balance better. It helps you to be able to like go up your stairs still and not have to like hold onto the railing and like heave your body up with your upper body strength. you still have power through your center, power in your legs. The other thing that I think is just as valuable as the physical strength and the flexibility and like the mobility is seeing what your body is capable of if you are always training with focused intention and consistency and time. So the more you keep showing up for yourself and the more me, like as a teacher, continues challenging your body based on having a strong foundation and then progressing you throughout the method, then those people become empowered, not just physically, but also mentally, because you realize you can do anything that you put your mind to if you are consistent with it and if you're dedicated to it. So I think it's a physical thing, it's a mental thing, it's an emotional thing, because it's also confidence building. And so it just makes you resilient in life. And so I feel like life can beat you down, but when you understand, when you start to build up your own self-efficacy, it just makes you stronger in every single area of your life. Classical Pilates is a system that integrates multiple pieces of apparatus. So I train my students on the reformer, the mat, the Cadillac, the high chair, the wonder chair, 3 different barrels, different chairs. And I teach them to move their joints in all ranges of motion against spring resistance or without spring resistance. And we call it progressive and systematic training. So everyone who starts, whether they are an Olympic athlete or my 80-year-old student, they come in and they learn the most foundational exercises, because it's like learning a new language. It's like learning ballet. You want to learn your ABCs, or you want to learn how to do your pliés and your tendus. And once you have that foundation, then I can challenge your body with more complex movement patterns across all the different apparatus in different relationships to gravity and different levels of spring resistance. And that's how your body becomes strong and resilient to do anything in your everyday life.
Love that.
It makes me want to get back on a reformer the way you're talking. It's very
so
inspirational.
Good. I will never stop doing Pilates. I will never, ever stop. It's like the baseline for everything. So like I love Pilates and I will do Pilates forever because I love it. But I also do Pilates because it enables me to continue doing aerial arts. You know, I'm like the oldest person in my class, but I am strong enough and I have controlled strength because of Pilates. And I can do all like the crazy stuff because of Pilates. And like Joe didn't just do Pilates either. You know, he did his system of exercise, but he was also a boxer. He also did martial arts. You know, he did strength training. So I do Pilates or I do Pilates so I can do this.
Right. Now, give us that difference between classical Pilates, the East Coast version, and West Coast. How would you describe that for people?
I can explain it from my perspective. I feel like there's a clear definition of what classical Pilates is because classical Pilates comes from Romana's lineage. But I think contemporary Pilates, that encompasses so many different styles. So I can't really say. But I will say from my experience, when I came out of my teacher training program, I felt like I had exercises, but I didn't really know how to develop a program to teach each individual student. So every single night I would be at home, like making up a whole workout program for each client. So I would be teaching, say 6 to 8 hours a day, and I'd go home trying to figure out, okay, like how do I start? How do I, like, what's the middle part of the workout? What's the end part? Whereas in classical Pilates, we have a beginner, intermediate, and advanced system. When you come in for your beginner, like for a first time, I'm going to teach you the beginner system on the reformer. I'm going to teach you beginner mat. I'm going to teach you 2 exercises on the Cadillac. I'm going to teach you 2 exercises on the high chair. And I'm going to teach you some exercises against the wall. That is my opportunity to assess your postural habits, your movement habits. And then from there, as I continue to progress you, I'll be like, this person could really benefit from, if we go over to the wonder chair and try this, that'll help them find better spine articulation. Or if they need more stability in the shoulder girdle, let's try doing arm springs on the Cadillac. So it's like I have a template that I can work from, and then I can build upon that template and be creative within the system and tailor the workout to every single individual that I work with. But I have a template to work with instead of kind of just like walking in blindly and like doing like feet and straps, 10 exercises. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to do leg circles and frogs with the beginner. I'm not going to do the Peter Pans or like, I'm not going to do all that stuff like I used to do. You know, I want to get in as much as I possibly can, moving their body in different ranges and then progress them from there.
Right. So it just seems like there's just more structure and a progression, classical, and there's just a bit more, kind of open, free form possibilities. Yes. You do a lot of help with clients who have injury, and I know that you recently had your own injury that I'm sure you are working through. You are really interested in the body's capacity to heal. So how do these experiences, helping your clients through injury or helping yourself through injury, influence how you guide people through their physical challenges?
I wouldn't say that working with injured people is my focus, but I will say that that is one of my strengths because of my own experience with injury. So, for example, I feel more comfortable working with someone who's injured versus someone who's pregnant, only because I've never been pregnant. So I have no idea what that feels like. I know like the protocols or whatever, but I know what injury feels like almost in every single joint. And I know what the process of recovery feels. So I feel confident in that. And also my background as a massage therapist gives me even more confidence because through my schooling, we were taught how to assess postural and movement imbalances and how to treat them. So like I can take those assessment skills and bring them into Pilates. And because I've been injured so much, I also understand not how to treat the injury, because that's not what we do in Pilates, but I know how to work around the injuries in order to support the joint, say, for example, that's affected. So right now I have a broken foot. So I'm not on the reformer doing the footwork series. I'm not even trying to do it on one spring. That would be ridiculous. But I can do tons of work, say, on the spine corrector where I'm not putting any pressure on my foot. I can do most of advanced mat, but I'm not going to go into like the planks or like obviously. But so I use the Pilates method to support people's entire body, which helps facilitate the healing of the affected joint. I go to my physical therapist to actually treat my foot, and I go to my Pilates teacher to treat my whole body. That's the way I view it.
Sorry about the foot injury. I wish I was there to help you, but it sounds like you're in good hands.
This is me. Ooh. I have my air boot. Yes.
Oh, that is a boot.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. What happened?
I fell down my stairs. It wasn't even a fun way to break anything. Like I could have fallen out of a hoop or something, but no, it wasn't that. I fell down my stairs on my way to go rest in the park. I feel good because I can keep moving. Unfortunately, I can't do aerial hoop, and my spirit could use that. But at least I can move and do Pilates, and that helps my spirit a little bit. It's not self-expression, but it does feel good to move.
Yeah. Well, luckily you're on the mend, and we can't wait to see you back on the hoops, because I know I can tell when I see videos of you doing that it really does feed your soul.
Yeah. Always an artist. I don't look artistic yet doing it, but that's the goal, is to look an artist. I'm still a work in progress.
I know.
I'm 2 years in.
You do to me. It's not something that I could do. So I'm impressed every time I see you do it.
One day I'm going to make it look really pretty. I'm going to make it look effortless. That's the goal.
You emphasize that how we move in our bodies reflects how we move through life. Can you explain how this philosophy plays out in your Pilates sessions with others?
I think of it a lot about how we approach skill building. Like, what is your approach when you learn something new? How do you treat yourself? Like, if you're not doing it perfectly the first time you learn something, are you beating yourself down? Or does it make you more curious? Does it make you investigate and want to play around and play around with different cues or different ideas so that maybe you can do it? And then when you do figure out how to do that, are you willing to celebrate yourself, or is that still not good enough? So I think that the act of skill building in Pilates or dance or whatever also affects how you approach life. Like when you're approached with a challenge, do you suddenly feel defeated, or can you stand up to the challenge and say, oh, if I approach it with focused intention. I have a specific goal in mind. I also like to use visualization. I can visualize myself doing it, and I give myself the grace to suck at it at first and give myself the grace to keep practicing and fumbling and just like play around and explore. Eventually I'm going to get it. And if I don't get it perfectly, I'm definitely going to improve. And when I improve, that feels so gratifying. It's so satisfying. So I apply that to even like building my business. Building my business is not easy. It's super hard. There's challenges all the time, but it's like, I just take one step at a time and know that if I have my goal, if I focus on the goal and keep chipping away at it, I'm going to get there. You know, even if I'm failing some of the times, I'm going to learn from those failures and I can improve from there. So I think that's how I look at it in terms of how do you approach Pilates is how you approach life. And also, how do I approach Pilates or how do I approach life? You know, it's a very different mindset and also a physical shift too.
Yeah, it really feels like you are helping people build capacity to sit with uncomfortable feelings and difficult feelings and feelings of not feeling entirely confident in what they're doing.
Yeah, that's super important for me because like I'm a recovering perfectionist and I come from an industry where we were beaten down by teachers or choreographers all the time and made to feel small. And it wasn't until, honestly, when I was in De La Guardia, like that first aerial job, where the artistic directors were just like, be you, like just be you. They would give us like structure. So there's no like storyline, but they would give us structure to the acts that we were doing. But they weren't like nitpicking along the way, telling us exactly what emotion they wanted to see or how they wanted us to be able to like express ourselves and move authentically. And they gave us the space to play around with that and find ourselves in the movement. And to me, that was invaluable at that time in my life. And I think that's what helps me also to be patient with a teacher too, is like give people the time and space to figure it out, you know? And is everyone going to look the same doing a freaking teaser? No. But like, how can I guide them to find the best teaser they can find in their own body? And then how can we celebrate that win? I just think that's super important. It's like not about the perfection. You know, yes, we want to move as efficiently as we can, but we're just going to move the best way we possibly can in any given day, knowing that every single day it's going to be different.
Oh, I love that. Well, we are out of time for this half of this podcast, but we have much more for you.
Stay tuned for the second half of this wonderful interview with certified Pilates instructor and former professional dancer, Kira Lamb.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the A New Body Insight podcast. Please remember, the content shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anu.insight and at anu-insight.com under the A New Body Insight podcast tab. Follow us on our socials at my.anu.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.